connected.
Well guys, it's time to install the Tractionators. This should be a big improvement. I'm going to take this thing off, get this installed. This thing is just so incredible. It's like these tires ain't for no wimpy sissy. These tires are made for big boys. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and get these things installed. Alright, first off, 22mm wrench on the left side, 27mm socket on this side. Probably may not even need a wrench over there. I'm going to try without it. But easiest way to break it loose is probably just to set your foot on it. Oh yeah, that broke right loose. Push down, good push, and just go ahead and take the nut off on this right side. Take the nut, the washer, and the spacer off. Alright, now we'll just slide the axle out. Hold on to the wheel. Try not to lay your axle in the dirt, because if you do, you're liable to get some debris and sand or grit on it. You want to make sure you lay it on something clean. On this side, I just want to take the chain off, and I set it over the swing arm like that just to hold it so it don't fall down in the way for when I put it back on. And roll the tire out of here. Also, these two spacers here, try not to drop them in the dirt because they have grease on them too, and any debris will stick right to them. You want to keep them clean. There's one on each side. This one here is not a shouldered one. I always clean these up and re-grease them before I put them back in. Just remember which one goes where. Alright, if you got some cardboard boxes to set your wheel on, works real great to keep it off the floor. Keeps things clean and from getting your rim scratched up or anything. First thing I'm going to do is take off the valve cap. Remove the valve core. And then I can go ahead and remove the 12mm nut on the valve stem. Usually I can just break the tires down by pushing down on the tire. Some of them are stuck, and if they do, you can use a bead breaker or whatever you got. But if that don't work, use a bead breaker. Breaks them right down. And you have to hook this in. Just use the bead spreading part. Pop it right off there. And I want to go ahead and break the other side down. Like that. Alright. Now for taking the tire off. I've never actually used these before. These are some cheap bead savers off of eBay. But to save from scratching the beads up, so I'm going to try them and see how they work. They're extremely cheap on eBay. Because they're painted wheels, they're easy to scratch up. So if it was just the aluminum without the paint on them, not near as bad. So we're going to try them and see how they work. Like that. I'm going to smash down on this side of the tire so it goes into the valley, which is the center part of the rim. And that will give you all the tire over this way you can. Just be certain that you're not pinching your tube when you stick this in here. Don't stick it in so deep that you pinch your tube. And when you're taking these off, it's better if you take small bites instead of real big bites. It makes it easier to pry on it. Seems to be working pretty good. Put it over on this side here so I can go a little further. It's easier the further you go. Should be able to, once you get about that far, pull it right up off there. Just like that. I'm sure these have the strings down there, so if you drop them down inside and they fall down inside the tire, you can just pull them out with the string. Now we want to take the tube out, so push your valve stem back. That's where I always start to take the tube out, is at the valve stem. That way it ain't hung in there. Get your valve stem out first. Pull your tube out and be careful not to catch it on the sprocket and tear a hole in it. And then lay your tube somewhere where it's not going to be laying in the grit either, in the dirt. On this side, the way I'll do it is I'll put one of these rim savers in here. Where I'm going to do the prying at, like so. Then I'm going to stand the tire up. Rim savers right there. And I want to make sure my bead of my tire is down in the valley, the lowest spot. And then I'm going to go right here, find where my rim saver is, put my tire spoon under, like so, and then I can pull this back. Should be able to just push it down off here after I get it pried back. Like that. A little bit tough, but it came off. Okay. Now, lay it back down. Okay, now when you put the tire back on, you want to make sure you put it on in the right direction. You want the wheel will be on the bike like this. And then you want the arrow on the tire rotating this way. So make sure the arrow is pointing that way and you put it on the right way. So we'll go just like this. And what I do is put some dishwashing liquid on a paper towel. You don't want tons of it, just enough to get the bead wet with the dishwashing liquid. That way you don't have to squirt it all over there and make a big mess. Do both beads just to help it slide on easier. These Tractionators may be tough because they are an extremely heavy sidewall on these tires. Then I take the tire, and just like when I took it off, this will be my bottom bead here inside, so I want it in the valley of the rim. So when I do it, I angle it like this. I just slap it on like that, push it around, that bead's on. That simple. You get it slick, you get the bottom bead in this valley on this rim at the right angle and just slam it on there. A lot of times you can just slam it on and it goes all the way on without having to push. No prying necessary. Now we'll put the tube back in it. I want to make sure all the air is on my tube, so we'll lay flat in there and not get pinched when I put this back on. Turn my stem around here, stem hole. And I can shove the tube in there, keeping the stem where it's supposed to be. Try not to make sure the tube is not twisted when you put it in there. Make sure it stays even flat best you can. And then line your stem up and put it in the hole. Make sure that you go through the rubber spoke cover. There's a rubber strap that goes around to cover the spokes. Make sure you got it lined up and go through it right. Now, once you get that stem stuck in the hole, you want to take your 12mm nut and thread it back on there. But I don't tighten it, I just run it down snug with my fingers for right now. Alright, now that I got my rim savers in here, I just get one to hold it here, get another one. You can take a big bite at first, but then you'll have to take smaller bites the further you go on this. Hold your knee right here, it'll just hold it in place. To be able to slide this rim saver over a little bit. Go a little further. Rim saver came out. Actually not going to be able to use a rim saver because I can't get it slid past there very good, and I know I can't get it in there, so just be careful and not get it on the paint of the wheel. Keep it to the inside. Further you get over, the more you want to have this pushed down so this side of the tire goes down in the valley of the rim. That will let your tire go that way further and make it easier to put on. They say these are extremely easy to, or hard to install. I found them extremely easy to install. As you can see on the video here, there was nothing to it. Okay, we're ready to take the rim saver out. Air this puppy up. Okay, now when I air the thing up, I leave the valve core out. I don't put the valve core in to air it up. And to make sure that my tube is in position, I don't want to air it up all the way and try to seat the bead first. I just want to air it up a little bit, let the tube fill the tire, and let the air settle back out of it to make sure it's not in the bead. Like so. Everybody has different ways. This is the way that works for me. Now I'll inspect around it and just make sure that inside there I don't have the tube in my bead between the tire and the rim, because if you do, when you air it up, it's going to pinch a slit right in that tube. And that looks really good. Looks like it's tube's in place. So I should be able to go ahead and air it up, pop it on the bead. little bit. Just should have to pop on the bottom side. See, the bottom side is not on right here. So I'll have to put some more air in and get that bead on. Should hear it pop, like so, and it's on. So now, stick the valve core back in. Looks good. I'll air my tire up to pressure, balance it, check the balance, and then stick it back on here. I won't do a video of the install of the front tire because it's going to be identical. So pointless to make an install with the front tire when it's going to be the same difference. You do it the same way. So we'll get this thing on the balance and see how far out it is. Go ahead and tighten my 12mm valve stem nut here. Alright, now I'm going to put my tire on my static balancer right here. Slide this through the axle hole and make sure this tapered part on this is tapered on both of them. Make sure that they go into the bearing and that will hold it straight. Slide them both into the bearing and make sure you got about an even shaft sticking out on each side. And then I'll tighten these set screws up just to hold it in place. You don't have to tighten them real tight. Now this is good and solid. Turns free in the bearings. And I'll take it and set it up on the balancer. Like so. See how far it is off. I got the weights that's on there already. And as you can see, it's a little bit off because this side's turning down, so this is the heavy side. Alright, what I had to do was add 2 number 10s on here to get this thing balanced. What you want to do is just make sure that wherever you set your tire, that it's not going to be rolling, which means it's balanced. If it's sitting here, if you put it on this side and it starts going downhill, that's no good. It's only doing that because I'm pushing it. But if you can stop it anywhere and it don't roll, then that's when it's balanced. If you set it in the spot and it starts going down, that's your heavy spot, so you'd want to have your weight on the other side. But that's what it took. I wish I had some black weights. I do somewhere, but I can't find them, so I got these silver ones on here, and I'll just have to paint them to make them black so they don't stand out. It looks so stupid. So now we'll just put the tire back on the bike. Alright, I have lightly greased my spacers. Put them back in the same location they came out of. I can tell you that having the center stand on this bike will be a huge advantage when you're doing this. Otherwise you're going to have to get it raised up with something, but having a center stand on the bike just makes it that much easier. Make sure that you get your disc up in your brake pads on the other side. One thing you want to do is make sure that you do not hit your brake pedal because you compress your pads and it'd be harder to get them back in there, so you'd have to spread them back apart. So just don't hit your brake pedal and you'll be fine on that part. Now we just got to raise it up, line this hole up and slide the axle in. I didn't show you on the video there, but I did lightly grease the axle And I did grease the spacers before I put them back in and cleaned them off. Make sure there's no dirt and debris on the axle or the spacers. I lightly greased them and put them back in. And if your chain was already an adjustment, you shouldn't have to worry about that as long as you didn't mess with the adjuster bolt here. You'll be fine on your chain adjustment. Just scoot the wheel all the way forward before you tighten it back up. That's it, guys. That's the rear tire. I'm not going to make a video on the front. I'll do the front. I'll also get my torque wrench and torque that axle nut right there. Look at my manual so you can see the specs. Torque the axle nut. And we're good to try these things out. Alright guys, I just want to show you I mounted the rear tire, of course, and how I raised the front tire off the ground with the center stand. And this is the way I always do it on a bike with a center stand. Just I have back here a hook mounted down here toward the floor, a cup hook. Then I just take a tie down, hook it onto the back of the bike, pull the bike down, and just tighten the tie down. And it's not a hard pull on at all. It's just holding the back tire down to the ground, which raises the front tire off the ground, and plenty of clearance to work on it. So I'll let you know that tip. Alright guys, Tractionators are installed. They look great. Got them balanced front and rear. So we'll run them up the road, run them down and back, and see how the balance is, see if they vibrate any or if I have to do it again, but I think I'll be good. Should be. I have a lot of questions about people asking about how much clearance they're going to have between the front fender and the Tractionator, but if you look, there's actually a lot of clearance. You can see how much clearance there is there, and I felt back there it's the same all the way back through. It's pretty even, so there's a lot of clearance. So I don't think clearance is going to be a problem. Now if you go into some extreme mud and stuff, your tires may mud up and rub the fenders, so I don't plan on hopefully not doing extreme mud, but that old sticky clay will ball up on tires. So anyway, that's the Tractionator install from MotoZ on the Honda Africa Twin. Please click the thumbs up on my video, subscribe. I'll let you know how they do as I ride them and try them out on different terrains. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video.